Hi, my name's Alex. I'm a Pilates instructor and I've designed a short Pilates session for all you Vita student residents. Simple to follow, suitable for all fitness levels. You don't need much space. If you've got a yoga mat, exercise mat that you can roll out, perfect. If not, a little bit of clear floor and maybe a towel, clean or dirty, underneath you. Just as we come down onto the floor, you might want a bit of cushioning on your back. If you've got any injuries or you have any back issues at all, please listen to yourself. Don't do exercises that you know you shouldn't be doing. Maybe sit out and then come back in, join in with any exercises that you know are appropriate for you. Okay, let's get started. So we're going to start off thinking about alignment and posture to begin with. So I'd like you to bring the inside of your feet together, inside of your ankles together. Fan the toes out 45 degrees and then align your heels with your toes. Make sure you're not locking your knees out, so give the knees a little shake. And then we're going to find what we call neutral spine, so the kind of perfect positioning or the best positioning that we can find for our spine. So I'd like you to bring one hand to the front of your pelvis, just above your pubic bone. One hand to the back of your pelvis, so at the base of your spine, just above your bottom. Imagine you're holding onto a bucket of water 3/4 full. You're going to tilt that bucket of water gently forward. Allow the water to lap towards the edge, but not spill over. Then tilt the bucket of water backwards slightly. Again, pretty small movement. Isolating this movement to the pelvis. Feeling maybe the lower tummy slightly working at this minute. And lower back lengthening and shortening as you tilt that bucket of water. From here, we're going to make this movement gradually smaller and smaller so that we bring that bucket of water to a level position. Water is now lying flat, which essentially means that your pelvis is now level and you've created neutral spine for you. So you've softened the curve in the lower back slightly. Good, okay. Bring the arms down by your side. Let's think about a nice wide open chest, drawing the shoulder blades together slightly and allowing those shoulder blades to slide down towards the back of your waistline. Keeping the chest heavy, shoulders relaxed. Think about lifting the crown of the head up towards the ceiling. Tailbone drawing down towards the floor, so real length running through that spine. Good. From here, we're going to switch on our core muscles. These aren't our tummy muscles necessarily. These are our deep internal muscles. So to do that, a quick one is, if you imagine that you need the toilet, okay, you're not desperate, you're not trying to skip the queue to get into the cubicle. It's about sort of a desperation of 3 or 4 out of 10, 10 being the most you can be desperate. So it's all in internal contraction. Really small to begin with, just noticing it. But hopefully, chest is still nice and heavy, you can breathe comfortably, and we'll quickly check in on the breath. So we want to use what we call in Pilates a lateral breath. So this is thinking about pushing your air into the side of your lungs, filling out the back of your lungs, so you can keep your chest nice and heavy, shoulders nice and heavy. Sometimes when you take a nice big breath in, you lift the chest up, tailbone sticks out, you've lost that neutral spine that we've just created. So just be nice and relaxed in that upper chest if you can. Good. Fabulous. Okay, let's just mobilise the shoulders a little bit. So we're going to do small shoulder rolls. Drawing the shoulders behind us, making these gradually bigger. Starting to think about drawing the arms behind you. Really think about squeezing those shoulder blades together as you bring the arms behind. Don't worry about any crunching, any clunking. Take it a little bit slower, not so big. Good. And release. Stretching the neck out gently. We're going to reach the right hand down away from the body, taking it towards the floor. Then gently take left ear to left shoulder. Trying to keep the shoulders nice and level. Then really reach that right hand down towards the floor as best you can. Take one breath in here, and as you exhale, gently draw the chin down towards the chest, roll the chin to the front of the chest, and then take the ear back to the shoulder. So it's like a half roll of the head. We'll repeat that a couple more times. Draw the chin down, roll the chin to the front of the chest, and then take the ear back to the shoulder. Good, lift the head back up. Release the arm, change sides. Left hand now reaches down away from the body. And then we slowly take right ear to right shoulder. Trying to keep the shoulders level, so no tilting in the waist. Good. Really draw those fingertips towards the floor. One more breath here. And then we're going to drop the chin down towards the chest. Roll the chin to the front of the chest. And then take the ear back to the shoulder. So it's that half roll. One more here. Good. And bring the head up. Take a little shoulder roll if you need to. If you've got tightness in the neck or upper shoulders, you're going to feel that one a bit. Okay, testing your balance now and thinking about maintaining that neutral spine. We're going to do what we call a Pilates plie. So feet still hip width apart, squeezing your bottom, bend your knees slightly over your toes. Try and keep the length in the lower back. As you lift the heels off the floor, straighten the legs nice and slow, keep squeezing the bottom, bring the heels back down. What you want to try and avoid doing is when you bend the knees, sticking your bottom out. And as you straighten the legs, try not to let the hips slide forward, because then you come off balance. So use those core muscles to be as controlled as you possibly can. We're going to go for 3 more. And if you want to, you can bring the hands and arms into this motion. Bending down, reach the hands up towards the ceiling. Straighten the legs, lower the heels and hands. Good. Nice and slow. The slower you go, the more control, the harder your core is going to have to work. Excellent. Nice. Okay, we're going to warm up the legs and stretch out the side body a bit more. So take the feet nice and wide. Toes point out as much as you can to bring the heels inwards. Sink down into a wide squat. Wide enough for you. Make sure the weight is going into the back of the heel. Draw the knees out. Tailbone tucked. Good. So what I mean by that is you're not leaning forward. Tailbone tucked so you can be nice and upright. You've got the level pelvis again. From here, sweep one arm up and over. Feel that stretch in the side body. Release. Change sides. Time the out breath if you can. To the lean over. Good. Squeezing the bottom, drawing the knees out wide. Keep the heels inwards, toes out. We're going to go one more each side. Final one. And release. Straighten the legs. Good. If you're on a mat, come to the back of your mat. If you're not on a mat, just make sure you've got a bit of clear floor space in front of you. Take a breath in, reach the arms up towards the ceiling. Loose neutral spine if you want, extend the spine. And then as you exhale, draw the arms out wide, retuck the tailbone, come back to neutral. Then slowly forward fold. Chin to chest, rounding the back. Slide the hands towards your ankles. Keeping the knees nice and soft. Bring the hands onto the floor if you can, or if that's too much, onto your thighs. Let the head go heavy. We're going to stretch out the back of the legs here. So on your next out breath, straighten the legs. In breath to release. Out breath, straighten. In breath to release. 3 more. Straighten as much as you can, just so you're feeling that stretch through the back of the legs. Feeling a bit of a back stretch too. Let's make this the final one. And then release. Bend the knees. Bring the hands onto the floor, walk them away from the feet. and slowly bring the knees onto the mat. So coming into all fours position, we want to take the hands out wide, shoulder width apart, slightly forward at the shoulders, knees hip width apart and underneath your knees. Your knees underneath your hips. From here, out breath, round the back, push the floor away from you. Inhale to lengthen the spine. Lift the tailbone and head if you want to, if that's okay for you. Exhale to round the back, drop the head in between the arms, tuck the tailbone, push the floor away from you. Inhale to lengthen or lift head and tailbone towards the ceiling. Out breath again to round and push the floor away from you. By pushing the floor away from you, you're going to feel your tummy muscles wake up and engage. Good, final one. Then come back into a neutral spine. So let's make sure shoulders away from the ears, your chin's gently tucked and the back of your head is lifting up towards the ceiling. So your head isn't lifted, nor is it dropped between your arms, eyes looking at the floor. And then we're going to make sure that the tailbone is gently tucked. So you're flattening out your back as best you can, drawing up through the lower tummy, because that's really going to work in a second. I want you to tuck your toes. We're going to do knee lifts or knee hovers. And you've got to think more about your lower tummy working than your knees actually coming off the ground, because it's going to be such a small lift. So check your cores engaged. On your next out breath, lift and float the knees just a centimetre off the floor. In breath to slowly bring the knees back down. Out breath. Lift and hold. In breath, slowly back down. If your bottom's going quite high, there's more weight in the shoulders and hands and the feet rather than the lower abdominals and the core working. If you want a bit more of a challenge, we'll add a step back in. So exhale to lift and float. Step one foot slightly away from you, second foot slightly away from you, keeping a nice flat back. Step one foot in, second foot in, lower down. We're going to go for 3 more, whichever option you fancy. As you start to slightly fatigue, make sure shoulders are keeping away from the ears, lower tummy is working, back is nice and flat. Final one. Excellent, lower down, bring the feet together. Sit the bottom on the heels, reach the hands forward, rest the head on the floor. Take a little breather here and focus in on your breath for a moment. So pushing the air into the back of your lungs, feeling a bit more stretch through the back. Good. We'll take 2 more breaths here. Then gently draw yourself back onto all fours. Sit your hips on your heels or your bottom on your heels. Bring your hands behind you. Step 1 foot at a time from underneath your bottom and bring your bum on the floor. Scoot yourself down to the end of your mat. So this time making sure you've got clear space behind you. We're going to do a slow roll down. So we're going to bring our back onto the floor. If you've got any back issues, I suggest bring your hands behind you. If not, hold on to the back of your legs. We're going to lean forward, walk the bottom backwards, then restack the spine coming up to sitting, just so you can make sure you're feeling your sitting bones on the floor. And then from here, you don't have to lift your elbows, it's just me that's doing that, just so you can see what I'm doing with my lower back and tummy. On your next out breath, we're going to roll off the sitting bones slightly by tilting the pelvis backwards, so creating a C shape in the lower back, dropping the rib cage, slowly lowering ourselves. Want to take a pause here, retuck your tailbone, try and draw the sternum and pubic bone together. Avoid rounding too much in the shoulders. Keep slowly lowering down. Add another pause in. Retuck the tailbone. Bring the mid back, upper back, shoulders onto the floor. Good. Walk the heels in towards your bottom. Hands rest down by your side. We're just going to check neutral spine here. So feet are hip width apart, knees are hip width apart, pelvis is level. So gently think about tilting the pelvis backwards or tucking your tailbone. So you feel the back of the pelvis, lower back meeting the mat. Automatically, your tummy wants to draw down towards the floor. Resting the arms down by your side, like I said, just keep nice and open the chest, nice and heavy in the shoulders. What we want to do is feel a gentle imprint of our backs into the floor on the mat. Take a nod of the chin, lengthen out the back of your neck. So your chin's running in parallel to the ceiling, not pointing upwards. Then check in with your core muscles, okay? You could even imagine you've got 2 resistance bands to help activate. This is another analogy I use to activate the core muscles. So first resistance band is attached from one hip bone to the second hip bone. Second resistance band is attached from your pubic bone to your tailbone. Those 4 resistance bands are getting tighter, drawing those 4 bones in towards your center and lifting up slightly. Again, only effort level 3 or 4 in this position. Good. From here, think about the breath for a moment, so nice and heavy in the rib cage. Try on the out breath to slide your rib cage towards the top of your hips. Excellent. Interlocking your fingers, bring your hands to the back of the head. Lift the elbows off the floor so they come into your peripheral vision. Slide the shoulders away from your ears. Good. From here, out breath. Float and lift the head just a tiny way off the floor. So it's not much of a challenge right now. What we want to check is that we haven't dropped the chin and you're pulling on the back of your neck, and that your lower tummy is gently pulling down. Inhale to lower. Exhale to lift. Inhale to lower. Core muscles might be working a little bit harder now. Effort level 5 or 6. Let's go for 3 more. As I say, prep moves shouldn't be too taxing at this point. It's a little pivot from the breastbone, so you're able to keep, like I say, nice length in the upper torso. So you're not curling, but keeping nice and open. Good, final one. And release. From here, we're going to work and wake up the side muscles, the obliques. So same lift, but this time is a breath in to lift the head, neck and shoulders. Same level of lift. Exhale, I want you to bend at the waistline, taking right elbow down towards your right foot. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, change sides. Inhale, back to center. As you take that bend round, think about squeezing your side muscles together, like you're trying to get your bottom rib, your last rib, towards the top of your hip or your hip bone. The slower you go, the harder you ask and squeeze those side muscles, the harder you're going to work here. Try and keep the elbows a little bit wider. Let's go 2 more each side. One more for good luck. Excellent. Bring the head back down. Stretch out both legs or one leg. And just, if you can, take a little bit of a full body stretch here. Your back may be lifting off the floor now. That's absolutely fine. We should be able to extend the spine too. Just give yourself a minute, less than a minute, breather before we get into some quite hard tummy work. Okay. From here, resting your arms down by your sides, Turn the hands out so the back of the arms and back of the hands rest on the mat. Draw the rib cage down, check your core muscles are engaged. On your next out breath, you're going to lift and float one knee above the hip, and then slowly, not moving the weight through the lower half of the body, you're going to lift and float the other knee above the hip. So we're coming into this 90-90 position with our legs. If you're finding your lower back is lifting off the floor, you need to draw your knees in towards you. Make sure that the lower back, mid-back, rib cage is down towards the mat. If you're still struggling at this point, bring one foot onto the floor, and we'll just alternate the leg that you're working on. So we're going to interlock the fingers again. Bring the hands to the back of the head, lift and float the head off the floor. Keep drawing down the lower tummy in this movement. Imagine, we'll start on the right leg. Your right knee is frozen. This movement comes from your hip. So as you exhale, you're going to reach the toe towards the floor, not allowing your lower tummy to lift up at all. Inhale to draw it back. Let's change sides. Exhale, take the left toe towards the floor. Inhale, draw it back. Use the out breath. The out breath engages your core automatically 30% more. Nice and slow, slower makes it harder. Keep drawing down the rib cage. Try not to let it float up. Try not to pull on the back of the head. This is all about the core and the tummy muscles working for you. We've got 2 more on each side. If you've got any tension in your lower back, please bring one foot onto the floor and go one leg at a time. Okay. Final one. Lower the head. Bring the knees in for a quick hug and a little rock from side to side. Next, we're going to work on increasing the load a little bit here. So bring the inside of your feet together, knees out wide. Bring the hands back to the head. We're going to lift and float the head again. This time you can almost cradle the head, so you can take more weight of the head here. On your next out breath, drawing down the lower tummy. Exhale, straighten the legs. Bring the inside of the thighs together. Squeeze the inside of the thighs. Inhale, draw the knees out wide and back towards the elbows. Exhale. Keep the leg extension at a 45-degree angle, so it's not low and it's not too high. You really have to challenge the lower tummy and keep the back of the pelvis and mid-back on the floor. If it's coming off the floor, send the feet a little bit higher. Out breath. Extend and squeeze the knees together. In breath to come back. Actively think about drawing that lower tummy down. 2 more to go. Final one. Great. Bring the knees in for a hug. Take a little rock from side to side. Brilliant. Hold on to the backs of your legs. We're going to bring ourselves up into sitting. So take a breath in to lift and float the head, neck and shoulders off the floor. Start reaching your feet away. Exhale, draw the heels down, bring the body up. Great. Okay, we're coming into high kneeling. We're going to step the left foot forward and we're going to stretch out the right hip. So try and level off your hips. Right knee underneath your right hip. Take the left foot quite far forward so the left knee is behind your heel. Level off the pelvis as best you can, so hopefully you're not leaning over to the right. So it should look a little bit like that. And then I want you to tuck your tailbone between your legs as much as you can. Squeeze your right bottom cheek a little bit. Not physically, think about it. And then gently push the hips forward. Keep the shoulders where they are. Feel that stretch running through the front of the right hip. Good. If you want to add a bit more on, so intensify the stretch somewhat, you can lift the right arm up, take a small lean over to the left. One more breath here. And then release. Changing side. Set the right foot forward, left knee underneath your hip. Make sure you can see those right toes. Right knee is behind the heel. Level off the pelvis, hips as best you can. Reach up that tailbone, tilt the pelvis backwards as much as you can, and slide the hips forward, keeping the shoulders where they are, or a little tiny lean back. Feel that stretch running through the front of the left hip, maybe down into the quad, to the front of the leg. And again, if you want to increase the stretch, take that left arm up towards the ceiling and take a small lean over. Keep though the hips very gently sliding forward. One more breath here. Draw yourself back up, release the arm. Bring yourself back into child's pose. So feet together, sit your bottom on your heels. Reach your hands forward, rest the head on the floor. Alternatively, you can take your hands to your lower back and just gently stretch out the spine. I'd like you to concentrate on your breath. Trying to push the air into the back of your lungs, filling out the side of your lungs. Maybe taking the knees a little bit wider to sink the chest towards the floor a bit more. When you're ready, gently draw yourself up onto all fours. So coming onto the hands and knees. Gently tuck the toes, lift the knees away from the floor. Take the bottom backwards, coming into a downward dog position. Walk your hands towards your feet. Keep the back rounded. Draw up through your tummy. Restack the spine. Nice and slow. Bring yourself up into standing. Hopefully, no head rush. Let's check the posture for the last time and the core. So feet back underneath the hips. Pelvis is nice and level, so you've got your neutral spine. Arms reaching down towards the floor, whilst the crown of your head is reaching up towards the ceiling. Good. Core muscles gently engaged. Let's focus on the breath for a second. Next breath in, trying to keep the top of your chest nice and heavy. Push that air into the back and side of your lungs. Excellent work. Well done, everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you've got any questions about any of the exercises that we did, you can find me on Instagram. My handle's @precise.pilates. Take care, guys.